The Philadelphia Eagles are flying high once again, and there's a real buzz in the air as the team heads into the bye week with 6 wins and only 2 losses. Back-to-back dominant performances against the Minnesota Vikings and the New York Giants have re-energized the fan base, and right now, this team looks like one of the true heavyweights in the NFC. They sit as the number 2 seed in the conference, just behind the Green Bay Packers, even though they actually have one more win. That early season tie between the Packers and the Cowboys is still paying dividends for Green Bay, but make no mistake, Philly is right there, breathing down their necks, ready to take over the top spot. If the season ended today, the Packers would get that coveted first-round bye and home field advantage, while the Eagles would open the playoffs hosting the San Francisco 49ers in what would be a blockbuster wild card matchup. Right behind them, you've got the Buccaneers sitting at 6-2, then a cluster of contenders like the Seahawks, Lions, and Rams all at 5-2. The Niners round out the playoff picture at 5-3, with the Bears and Panthers still lurking just outside. But the reality is, unless something goes terribly wrong, the Eagles are in prime position to repeat as NFC East champions, something no team has done since 2004. They're 3 games clear in the win column over both the Cowboys and the Commanders, and they've already sent the Giants packing for the offseason after that beatdown at Lincoln Financial Field. That's the kind of dominance that reminds everyone just how tough Philly is when they find their rhythm. The offense has looked sharper each week. The defense is finally playing up to expectations, and that pass rush last Sunday was flat-out nasty. 22 pressures and 5 sacks on Jackson Dart. You could feel it in the stadium. It was that classic Eagles defense energy. And now, as they take the short break, General Manager Howie Roseman has some big decisions to make. Because this team is already good, but to win a Super Bowl, to be better than the Packers, the Lions, the Bucks, and the Rams, you got to find that extra edge somewhere. So what do the Eagles need to do to separate themselves from the rest of the NFC elite? That's the big question floating around right now. It's not just about having a winning record. It's about getting that number 1 seed, locking down home field advantage, and making sure that if someone wants to go to Super Bowl 60 in Santa Clara, they've got to come through Philadelphia first. Because when January football hits the link, it's a different world. The fans are louder, the weather's colder, and it's one of the toughest environments in all of football. Nobody wants to play there when the stakes are at their highest. Looking at this roster, the main areas that could use reinforcement are edge rusher, cornerback, and maybe some depth along the offensive line. But let's give some credit where it's due. Brett Toth deserves a ton of praise for the way he filled in at center for Cam Jurgens against the Giants. The guy stepped up big time and completely neutralized Dexter Lawrence, one of the best interior defensive linemen in the league. Performances like that might actually influence how the Eagles view their offensive line needs heading into the trade deadline. Now, the buzz around the league is that the Eagles are going to be aggressive once again. That's just how Howie Roseman operates. He never sits still. Reports say he's already exploring potential trades, and insiders expect that by the time the deadline hits, Philly will have made at least one move. And honestly, that tracks perfectly with what this front office has done in recent years. They've always been proactive, not reactive. They don't wait for holes to appear. They plug them before they become problems. But it's not just trades that will improve this roster. The team's also getting some key reinforcements back after the bye. Rookie pass rusher Nolan Smith is set to return and bring some serious juice off the edge. Brandon Graham, the veteran heart and soul of the defense, is coming out of retirement for one last ride. And cornerback Jacorian Bennett will finally make his season debut, giving the secondary another option opposite Quinn Yen Mitchell. Those are the kinds of mid-season boosts that can make a good team great when it matters most. When you look at what the Eagles have to offer in trade capital, they're in an enviable position. They've got their own first dash, second dash, and third-round picks, plus an extra third from the Jets and a projected compensatory pick for Milton Williams signing with New England. They've also got a pair of fourth-rounders, including a compensatory one for Josh Sweat, and a conditional fifth-rounder that could become a fourth depending on Bryce Huff's sack totals. That's a loaded arsenal for Howie Roseman to work with. Even if he parts with a third-round pick for a player, he's still got 2 more. That flexibility makes the Eagles one of the most dangerous teams heading into the trade window. So what's the move? Cornerback seems like the most logical target right now, especially with some names starting to circulate. Alani Taylor from the New Orleans Saints is one of them. He's a young, athletic corner who's shown serious upside since entering the league. Standing 6 feet tall and weighing just under 200 pounds, he ran a blazing 4.36 40-yard dash during the pre-draft process and was taken 49th overall back in 2022. What makes him such an appealing fit for the Eagles is his versatility. He can play both inside and outside, which is exactly what this defense values. The guy has a knack for finding the football, posting double-digit pass breakups every year since he entered the league, including 16 last season and already 4 this year despite the Saints' struggles. From New Orleans' perspective, he's entering the final year of his rookie deal, so there's incentive to move him now and get something back instead of losing him for nothing in free agency. And for the Eagles, that's a classic low-risk, high-reward opportunity. They could send over a mid-round pick, say a third in 2026, and get a young starter who fits their scheme perfectly. That's the type of move that could quietly push them over the top defensively. Another name that's been floating around is Jaquan McMillian from the Denver Broncos. According to league chatter, Denver might be willing to move him since they've got younger corners waiting in the wings. McMillian's still on a cheap deal, and his contract structure gives the Eagles the option to retain his rights after this season, which is a huge bonus. He could come in and provide depth behind Cooper DeJean in the slot, giving the team more flexibility in coverage packages. Again, it's the kind of under-the-radar addition that good teams make before the stretch run. And then there's Tariq Woolen from Seattle, a player with incredible physical traits who just hasn't quite found his footing this season. 6'4", blazing speed, elite ball skills. As a rookie, he tied for the league lead in interceptions with 6. The potential is off the charts, and if the price is right, that's another swing worth taking. Sometimes a change of scenery is all a young player needs to reignite his career, and there's no better place to do that than under the bright lights in Philly. For those wondering about veteran options, one name that keeps popping up is Calais Campbell. A proven leader, still productive, and the kind of locker room presence every contender needs down the stretch. He's had a Hall of Fame caliber career, multiple All-Pro selections, several Pro Bowls, and a reputation as one of the smartest and toughest defensive linemen of his generation. This season, he's still getting after it with 3 sacks, 9 quarterback hits, and 5 tackles for loss. Adding someone like him would be a pure win-now move, similar to when the Eagles brought in Ndamukong, Suh, and Linval Joseph a couple of years ago. Short-term addition, big-time impact. All of these options reflect what Howie Roseman has built this franchise around: flexibility, aggression, and a relentless pursuit of improvement. The Eagles aren't content with being good. They want to be the best. They've seen what it takes to win a championship, and they know how thin the margin is between being the top seed and having to play on the road in January. Every move from here on out matters. Every decision shapes their path to the Super Bowl. Right now, the mood around Philadelphia feels like quiet confidence. The team knows what it's capable of. The coaches know how to get the most out of this roster. The players are starting to click on both sides of the ball. And the front office, as always, is working behind the scenes to keep the Eagles one step ahead of everyone else. When you look at how this Eagles team has been built, it's hard not to admire the balance between experience and youth that Howie Roseman has managed to maintain. He's got veterans who've been through the wars and know exactly what it takes to win in January, and he's surrounded them with hungry young players who bring energy and athleticism to every snap. That combination is what gives Philadelphia an edge over most teams in the league right now. You can see it in the way they play: physical, fast, and always with that sense of urgency that defines championship-caliber football. But for as good as they've been, you can sense that this team knows it still has room to grow. The offense is finally starting to find its rhythm, especially in the last 2 games, where the chemistry between Jalen Hurts and his receivers has really started to shine. Hurts looks comfortable again, reading defenses quickly, taking what's given to him, and knowing exactly when to use his legs to extend drives. His leadership has been steady, his confidence unshakable, and that sets the tone for the entire locker room. When your quarterback plays with that kind of poise, everyone else falls in line. The offensive line continues to be the foundation of everything this team does. Week after week, they open up lanes in the run game and keep Hurts upright long enough for big plays to develop downfield. Even with injuries and rotation along the interior, the depth has held strong. Players like Brett Toth stepping in and performing at a high level shows how well-coached this unit is. Jeff Stoutland deserves all the credit in the world. He's built a group that could start on almost any team in football. And when the line is clicking, the offense looks unstoppable. On defense, it feels like the Eagles are finding their identity again. Early in the season, there were moments of inconsistency, missed tackles, coverage lapses, drives that should have been stopped but weren't. But lately, the defense has tightened up, and the pass rush has started to look like the force everyone expected it to be. With 22 pressures and 5 sacks in that dominant win over the Giants, the defensive front reminded the league what it's capable of when everyone is healthy and locked in. That front seven depth is exactly what gives the Eagles an advantage heading into the second half of the season. Between Hasten Reddick, Josh Sweat, and now the returning Nolan Smith, this defense has multiple players who can wreck a game plan on any given Sunday. Add in the possibility of someone like Calais Campbell joining the rotation, and you're talking about a nightmare scenario for opposing offensive lines. The idea of pairing a proven veteran presence with the speed and power of Philly's younger rushers would make that defensive front one of the scariest in football once again. The secondary, though, remains the real question mark. That's where a potential trade could make the biggest difference. Darius Slay and James Bradberry have both had their moments, but they're not getting any younger, and depth behind them is still an issue. That's why names like Alani Taylor and Jaquan McMillian make so much sense. Taylor, especially, feels like the kind of player the Eagles love, versatile, explosive, and still developing. He fits perfectly into the Vic Fangio system, which values corners who can adapt, switch between inside and outside responsibilities, and trust their instincts in zone coverage. And speaking of Fangio, his influence is becoming more noticeable each week. His scheme takes time to master, but once players understand it, it becomes incredibly difficult for offenses to exploit. You can already see the improvement in communication, especially on third downs where earlier this season the Eagles struggled to get off the field. Now, players are anticipating routes, disguising coverages more effectively, and forcing quarterbacks into bad decisions. It's not perfect yet, but it's getting there, and that's what makes the potential addition of another young, athletic corner so intriguing. Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep delivering the latest updates on our Philadelphia Eagles. And don't be shy. Share your thoughts on the news in the comments below. The NFL rumor mill is buzzing after what some insiders are calling a bold move from A.J. Brown during last week's practice. Sources suggest that the star wide receiver, known for his explosive plays and relentless drive, has been making it clear to the coaching staff that he wants the ball when it matters most, in the clutch. Reports say Brown has been pushing for more target opportunities in critical moments, signaling that he wants to be the go-to guy when the game is on the line. This development comes amid whispers that head coach Nick Sirianni has been adjusting his play-calling strategy. According to sources close to the team, Sirianni has started to tweak his approach, possibly in response to Brown's request. While the details are murky, insiders claim the offensive coordinator has been experimenting with more formations and play designs aimed at getting Brown into the high-pressure situations he's been asking for. The buzz around the locker room is that this could reshape the way the offense operates, giving Brown a bigger role than ever before. Fans are already speculating about how this might impact the team's dynamics. Some believe it's a natural evolution. After all, a player of Brown's caliber deserves the chance to shine in clutch moments. Others are more cautious, noting that too much reliance on a single target can sometimes backfire in high-stakes games. Regardless, the chatter has created a palpable sense of excitement and tension as the team heads into the next stretch of the season. While no official statements have been made, insiders hint that this ongoing tug-of-war between star talent and coaching strategy could be one of the most intriguing storylines to watch. Will Sirianni fully embrace Brown as the offensive centerpiece in crunch time? Or is this just a negotiation tactic, part of the age-old dance between coaches and their top players? Whatever the outcome, one thing is clear. The rumor mill is alive, and A.J. Brown's desire for the spotlight in the clutch is making waves in the NFL landscape. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay updated with exclusive news about our Philadelphia Eagles, be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that like button. We can't wait to hear your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next video.